What up, friends? This is Ask Robin Black number 9. Got Instagram Live here. Instagram Live, say hello to YouTube and vice versa. Maybe we'll take a question or two off here, but I have to tell you guys, I do have a lot of questions and I can't follow along very well here. I'm definitely trying to do my best job here. And so we'll see how this works. But thank you for watching on YouTube and sharing it. It really means a lot to us. I will give it input as to when we're going to do this live. So if you do want to join in live and throw a question at us, that would be great. But I'm getting questions like, are you going to be on the JRE again soon? You don't have a lot of control over that. Joe invites you or he doesn't. Much love from Germany. But yeah, let's dig into this. So those of you who watch Ask Robin Black know that I take a long time to get to answers because I like to think them out loud, work them out, not find the easiest answer, not find the most obvious answer, not find a knee-jerk reaction answer. The idea for me is not who's going to win, Aldo or Holloway, and just randomly pick one. The idea is to really work it out and really think it out, and that the process itself of examining it, a question so often gives you new questions that are really cool and piques your curiosity in something else. And that's what I love about it. You know, that's what I love about this show. So that's what we're going to try to do, okay? Thank you for joining us. Pretty soon we will break these up, each question up into its own single questions. Right now, this will be the first time we'll label it slightly different, so some of the questions may appear in the thing, but we're still learning. I don't know if we're still white belts, but we're still learning. So thank you for hanging, and let's look at some questions. What do you think is more important, constant footwork or saving the energy? Sid Hanth 305 on Instagram. Mark might not get that one written exactly in there. I like that question, though. What do you think is more important, constant footwork or saving the energy? So there's a lot of times now when people are talking to me about, yeah, go right ahead. We are sharing this space with all kinds of cool artists and stuff. So that door is locked, but you can go out the back. So downstairs, there's a tattoo artist. She does brilliant, brilliant work. So we just kind of hang out in here. So we're back to it. Constant footwork or saving the energy. So a lot of the times when we're discussing some of these things, context is everything, right? What would be, and what's the simple way to think about how to contextualize that question? If you are exhausted and I have lots of energy, constant footwork, it'll exhaust you more. If we're both exhausted and there's still 7 minutes left in a fight and you're not that hurt, maybe we don't want to move as much. I mean, everything is contextual. Everything is contextual. And the contexts change so much. The contexts are, how are you? How am I? That will be broken up into any 27 things. Can you see? Are you mobile? Are you tired? How's your brain? Can you keep your hands up? Have you injured something? All the same questions for me and many, many, many more. Then the comparison between the two of us. Oh, you have a broken arm, but I feel really good. Oh, you have a cut on your eye that is dangerous and the fight might end. I have, all of these things change everything. And I talk about it a lot when we're looking at the fight game. And we tend to do some disservice in the discussions of it. And when we discuss it live, like in a commentary setting, that happened. We have a moment or two to point it out. There may be another comment that can be made, and then that's it. That's it. So there's a lot of truth that cannot be told in that moment. Sometimes all we can do is say what we just saw, and you go, oh yeah, I saw that too. Other times, maybe there's a 2-minute show, and it's like, well, who's better? Oh, well, Jose Aldo's got better footwork than Max Holloway. To which you will answer, no, he doesn't. And nothing's been accomplished. Literally, we've accomplished nothing. To really have most of these discussions, we have to go back and say, what is constant footwork? So again, now even that, I'm sorry, I'm doing what I do here and I'm going all over the place. I hope it's all right. But footwork, we can define what that is. We know what footwork is, the moving of our feet, either for some purpose or maybe for no purpose at all. Footwork. We do footwork when we dance, we do footwork when we walk, we do footwork when we do hopscotch, we do footwork when we climb. We know what footwork is, the moving of our feet for whatever purpose. Constant footwork. Constant footwork. Is there ever a time that might be good? Well, if you agree to constantly move your feet, and the game of us both moving our feet is moving me slightly ahead of you, so as you are in positions, I'm getting into better and better positions, and or I'm fatiguing you because I'm able to use less energy while moving my feet than you are, or any combination of those, that would be great. But the idea of many of these things in a vacuum are just nonsense. So somebody will say, oh, and this is one you hear a lot. Oh, that guy had some good volume in that fight. Or he's got to up his volume. Well, if everything stayed exactly the same, but you just struck more, even that is not automatically a good thing. What if in throwing strikes tonight, you put weight on your front leg and I kick it? What if in throwing more strikes, you leave yourself open more? What if in throwing more strikes, you fatigue yourself? Just throw it. You cannot say more volume is good, or more punches is good, or he should throw more punches, because as soon as you do that, you change everything. The relationship between everything is everything. Or you'll hear somebody say, that guy was great, he just needs more head movement. Well, head movement doesn't exist in a vacuum either. Head movement is connected to the distribution of weight. It's connected to rhythm. It's connected to timing. It's connected to vision. It's connected to all of these things. So none of these things as individual things can really be compared to each other. So I know I'm taking the long way around this, but I think it's the best answer. The answer to what do you think is more important, constant footwork or saving the energy, is it depends on 1,000 variables to find that answer. Dominic Cruz, he made that the answer for him be constant footwork. So where would that be a bad thing for him? Well, he might get tired. Well, then he had to do a number of things. Become in better shape, learn how to breathe different. And if you watch Dom, he has many different types of breath that he takes. Fascinating, actually, to watch. And exert less energy in the moving of his feet. So I'm Dominic Cruz, and one of my answers is be constantly moving. Okay? How do I become someone capable of constantly moving with no detriment to me? So all of these things work together, and you have to strategize them all together in the building of the fighter. And it really is complicated, and every one of them changes the other, which is why most of these things, this means this, and more of that is good, and well, he needs to learn to check kicks, and oh, he has good footwork but bad head movement. Most of it's bullshit. Most of it is people, playing the role of someone to give you information, and that's an important role, and they do it well within the confines of what has to be done. Nobody's trying to bullshit you. Nobody's trying to lie. I'm not saying they're bad. What I'm saying is the limitations of what they can do to talk to you about, the limitations of language, the limitations of time, and the limitations of the structure that we already have, those things make it so you can't just constantly tell the truth. So you end up creating these false truths and these structures that are just not really so. And it's those structures that are usually the things that become exploited, because fighters believe it too, and their coaches believe it too, and the people, the people that teach and the people that learn and the people that talk about it, we all kind of believe it. You have to put your front foot on the outside against the southpaw. That's not true. It's not even half true. That's not even slightly true. There's no truth in that. But we say it, and fighters believe it. And even some coaches believe it, but it's not true. You don't have to do that. We have to dig for the underhook here. You don't. You don't have to do that. So we the audience, we the analyst, we the coach, we the fighter, we're dealing with a lot of things that are not true, a lot of beliefs about fighting that are just not true. And so that's why these questions are impossible to answer telling the truth. If you're going to tell the truth, The truth is a long conversation. And where we get to is we get to a place where we need to learn, we need to expand our language. We need to expand our understanding. We need to expand the way we communicate, because the simple example is Eskimos have something like 20 words for snow. Well, we need 20 words for punch or kick or footwork to really, really be able to not only describe it, but understand it in our own minds to the point that we can do something different. So this is the ongoing thing. This is the truth that is hard to live with. Because if you live with this truth as somebody who loves anything, you love jazz or wine, especially anything that's somewhat complex, and somewhat of an adaptive system. Jazz isn't just a music, you know. Jazz adapts. It is a system that adapts. And so is fighting. Fighting isn't just an art form or a sport. It is an adaptive system that's adapting to itself in real time. So it is very, very complicated, and all of these things are complicated. And I was having a hard time 6 months or a year ago finding the way to discuss this. And I really didn't want to have to denounce, you know, all of the things that we say are so. And I don't think we have to. Footwork is still a real thing. Energy is still a real thing. Slipping your head is still a real thing. A counterpunch is still a real thing. It's just we can't talk with authority about, you know, oh, anytime the right hand comes, if you slip this way, you must do this. That's just not true. That's limiting. I'm sure I've been talking for 30 minutes, and there would be those of you who would say I said nothing. I disagree, but these are the hard conversations. These are the conversations that give you something to learn or to find or to discover a year from now, 2 years from now. They're very difficult and uncomfortable to be sitting here, you know. Myself, someone who loves fighting and loves analysis and loves, you know, technique, it's difficult to be sitting there and discussing the fact that a lot of it and a lot of the things that we accept are not true. Because what that means is you have to first accept it, and then you have to decide that you're going to find new answers, and that they're going to take you a long time. And you're going to be sitting here going, I used to know so much, but now that I used to think I knew so much, but now that I've discovered another layer, I'm realizing what I believed I knew was a bit of an illusion. It's a powerful thing. You can do this in politics, you can do this in relationship, you can do this in anything. You can do this in technology. A lot of the things that we believe we know to be true are illusions that we've accepted. A lot of the rules of fighting, you got to put your foot on the outside, you got to get the underhook, you need to have your hands here and when you're in someone's guard. A lot of those things are illusions that we accept. And once you open that door a crack, it's a very, very mentally challenging place to be, because now you have to admit that you don't know what you thought you knew. But in doing so, you can actually study and try to find the next truth. Try to follow, oh, it actually is like this. Oh, this is not as rigid as I thought. Oh, and that'll open up new ideas. It's hard though, it's a challenge, but if you're willing to do it in anything in life, it'll be really exciting and scary. I hope that was an answer. Sorry it took so long, but I'm being honest. Let's find something else. I saw that there was, so this actually connects to that somewhat. At Nature's Con, could you go through the evolution of a technique and counters from its early development till now? I gave the reference a discussion we did have about underhooks and overhooks, and that they liked it. Okay. Okay. So this is going to go back. We'll try to make sense of the semi-nonsensical philosophical fluff that I was discussing, that I believe fully, that I believe what I was saying fully. And I believe it because it'll allow me to go further. But if we go back deep enough, what is any fighting technique? What is it? What are we looking at? At one point, probably for leadership in our tribe, or for women, or while warring with another tribe, somebody would fight somebody else. And the most logical thing would happen. They would run towards each other and they would hit each other. One of them would hit the other one more, and then and hurt them more, and then they would win. And what we did, if the two people fighting had approximately the same understanding, which is next to none, the stronger, the faster, the lucky, the tougher, the one with better physical attributes would win. This could go on for a long time. This could go on for generations. This could go on for generations until somebody, probably through learning, definitely through learning, but probably through learning by watching, and then trial and error, and what humans do, which is sort of figure out the answers, would find some new way. That new way might be when somebody went through a punch, you put your hand here, you caught it, and you hit them. And that could work for years. That could be the key. Then everybody, pretty soon, anybody that would fight would all have seen that, and they'd all know it. Your next option would be to somehow beat that. Somebody would kick somebody's leg. Oh, there's a motorbike outside. This will go on and on and on until we get to a point that people know how to fight somewhat. And when we get now to the 90s, can you hear that bike? That is a big, a big ass Harley. When you get to the 90s, suddenly we have the Ultimate Fighting Championship, which was basically, really in a lot of ways, jiu-jitsu versus everything else. And jiu-jitsu was the modern, when you look at the evolution of jiu-jitsu, you see the clearest modern understanding of how martial arts work. And that is, if I hold you and I hit you, you will spin because you're trying to get away. That is the natural human response. Why would that be the natural human response? Because it works. You get away, you run away. Me, the person, the Gracies, pretend I am a Gracie, I'm not. Helio or whoever down the chain would now discover that everybody did that. When you hit them, when you were holding on to them, you hit them, they spun around. So now you would start to develop ways to work on their back. Be confusing to them, they have no idea what's going on, and you could choke them, you could do whatever. Eventually, jiu-jitsu will now be like, well, people get on your back. What do? Our options are either give up, die, get choked out, it's over, or start to find answers for that. And it's a very simple, ongoing, forever, something that works, and then finding an answer for that thing. And yes, it's a simple explanation when I talk about choking you versus you fighting the choke. The Gracies, start choking you, and you have to eventually learn to not get choked. Might start by resisting the choke, and then it'll learn to turn into you. Eventually, someone will turn into the other guy, and he'll end up in his guard. And now, sitting in that spot, you'll have to develop a fighting system there, and it'll mostly be based on all the natural things I do. You will make those wrong. If I stick my arm out, pretty soon, you'll start finding the way to get your hips up here and armbar me. If I start, sticking my head somewhere, you'll choke me. It becomes very natural. And over time, that is how all fighting skills developed. Some of them happened in Asia, where a repressed people created a fighting style. And in some cases, some of the older traditional martial arts where there was some superfluous stuff that wasn't as necessary was because we would be an oppressed people, and for 20 years in secret we would develop a fighting style, and we wouldn't necessarily get to try it. You know what I mean? We would do it in secret. So it's fascinating. The history of how these things develop is fascinating. But essentially now where we're at is somebody has an advantageous skill or attribute or idea, or now it's being done in timing or distance or rhythm or strategy or planning. And when that works, you need to beat that. And so the game just keeps building. And the conversation of the underhook, overhook, and there are many other examples that we could use just as well. The front foot in Southpaw versus Orthodox is one simple example, but I must have the underhook. I must have it for control. I must have it. If we both accept that as truth, okay, guy with the underhook wins, then it becomes all about the battle for the underhook, and upon the winner has been established, now he's winning. He's winning the position. He has all kinds of advantages. He's in charge. Once you could then spend the rest of your life working on trying to never lose the underhook, never get somebody to get the underhook on you, or you could just say, well, underhooks get got, so I'm going to build an overhook. I'm going to work on leverage from an overhook. I'm going to work on skills from an overhook. This way, if you've given your entire life to winning the underhook position, and I just give it to you, all of that training was pointless. All of that training in the battle, all of that data in the ability to get the underhook, that's fairly pointless because I'm just giving it to you. Now I've put in the equal amount of mental power, strategy, years of my life. Instead of in the winning of the overhook, I'm getting it in the using of the underhook. I'm getting it in the using of the overhook to win the position. Basically not accepting the fact that the underhook will win and not accepting the fact that the underhook is always the advantage. So I start to develop a game where, lo and behold, the overhook works. And it's the same thing with that front foot battle. Some people will say you have to have the front foot against the southpaw and vice versa. Others will say, let him battle for that. I'll take the inside line. I'll deal with the power hand that's coming. I'll slip it and make him pay, or I'll get the inside line on the jab. It's just, these things are not true. So the game just keeps evolving, and it keeps evolving, and it keeps evolving. And people will put so much effort into certain things, and then it'll change. The entire game of defending the takedown became moot if you couldn't grab my hips. You know, everybody, oh, we're going to defend the takedown. We're going to defend the single. We're going to defend the double. We're going to work for hours on that. Well, maybe we'll work for minutes on never getting grabbed, you know, or getting back up. So it's a beautiful, ever-changing thing, and it really is an incredible, incredible thing. It's why we'll never get tired of it. It's why we'll never know everything. It's why anyone who thinks they're an expert will suddenly be found to be not an expert. When that happens, all of the patterns that you've learned and the paths where you see a skill or an idea come and go, ebb and flow, the stock market does it, you know? The stock market changes with belief. If everybody thinks the housing market in Toronto is going to be awesome for years, the housing market's awesome. Everybody acts as if it's awesome, so it's awesome. If suddenly everybody decides, actually, man, I don't know about that housing market in Toronto, and they start selling, if they believe it's not awesome, it's not awesome. Techniques are the same, strategies are the same, ways that people perform are the same. If everybody believes you've got to have that front foot, and they all train like it, and they all fight like it, nobody ever surrenders it and had fights with confidence on the inside. If everybody believes that the guy with the underhook wins, nobody ever steps outside of it. You have to break those patterns. And everything is about breaking patterns, and everything is about finding where the illusions were, where the accepted ideas that we thought were true, and they're not true. And that's true in almost everything in life, you know? It's all kinds of things. Only 12 weeks ago, I used to think you had to sit and talk a certain way, and you had to do a certain kind of open, and you had to do a certain kind of close, and there's no way anybody would watch some guy on Instagram sitting here chatting with his friends. How's it going, guys? When are you coming back to Toronto? I'm in Toronto. And nobody would have thought, you know, like these things that are true become untrue, and they start by not necessarily believing them. But even that, these are dangerous conversations as well, because you start out and you don't know how to fight at all. Literally anything is possible. But you can't do anything. But anything is possible. But you don't know how to do anything. So then we teach you something. We teach you how to stand and how to move and how to have a particular stance and how to move your hips a certain way. You can no longer do anything. We've taught you to do this thing. And now you have to do that thing for a long, long time. And then other things and other things and other ideas. And you have to build that spider web somehow, probably the way many others have built it. And you have to get so good at it that it no longer applies to you. So it's a fucked up world that we live in. This is how you learn anything. This is how you master anything. All right, let's move on. I would say an example of that is Cruz versus Garbrandt. Do you think Aldo will use leg kicks? Do you think Max will wrestle more in this fight? Same thing. As much as I want to answer those questions. Do I think Max will wrestle more? That's not up to Max. I mean, it is a little bit. But it's up to Jose. It's up to the scenario. It's up to time and moments. It's up to so many things. Let's move on. At Shisanakuma, is it possible that Jon Jones is that good because of his extracurricular activities and not despite them? That's a great question. The knee-jerk reaction would be, no way, man, doing coke doesn't make you a better fighter, right? That's the knee-jerk reaction. Or, you know, going out and partying and presuming that's the case. Training less than other fighters, which has been documented to be the case. Well, that will never make anyone a better fighter. However, who you are and how you feel and what you believe and how you let yourself off the hook and how you get yourself into certain situations and the weird mental structures and mental mazes that you put yourself into, those are all relevant, you know? Those are all relevant. They all affect you. Let's say we tell Jon Jones to train 4 hours a day, 6 days a week. No more blow, buddy. No more crashing cars and getting high and whatever else he may or may not do. That doesn't mean he'll be better. He should be, obviously, in the long run. If he works on everything, of course he would be. But he talked with Rogan about getting blind, drunk, and or high within the week of every fight that he had, because that let him off the hook. So this is a hard one for us to understand, but I think if we think about it, we really can, and we really think about it. Things are hard, man. Trying something difficult, trying something, you know, at the top of your skills. In Jon Jones' case, the top of his skills is defending the UFC title. In yours or my case, the top of our skills, the top of what we're capable of might be something not like that. It might be something as simple as making a speech, or it might be something as simple as, you know, coming through in the softball game at the end of the year. It might be something as simple as, you know, something personal, you know, really putting yourself out there, asking out that girl you've been in love with your whole life, you know, something like that. When you go and you do that, when you go and you really, really try, and I don't know if you watched Fighting is About Fighting or if you've seen the last couple, but I have an audition for Dana's Contender Series. And I'm taking away every excuse possible. I'm doing it on purpose. I'm talking about the fact that I'm putting myself out there as far as I can with every type of preparation humanly possible. Everything I could possibly do to get ready, I'm doing. I don't want there to be any excuses. For some reason, I feel like I'm ready to go in like that. And I've worked hard on learning that, and I've trained to think that way for years. And I'm okay if that doesn't yet work. I think in the long run, it'll be better for me to give it my all and possibly not quite succeed yet. I think in the long run, that's good. That scares the shit out of most people, and it does scare me, but I think I've learned to see its value now. Something far less scary is the idea that if you go and you fight Alexander Gustafsson, so imagine you fight Alexander Gustafsson and you've done everything possible. You've trained in every possible way. You've prepared in every possible way. You've done everything you could humanly do. You haven't had a drink of alcohol. You've ate the perfect food. You've had the perfect training. Everything was right. You came out psychologically right and you lost. You think of that? You think of what that is like, the fear of that. What if it turns out I'm not the greatest of all time? If you've built up in your mind, if you live in a sort of mental fortress that's been built saying that you're the greatest of all time, and you do everything possible and you still lose, that will shatter that fortress. Now, if you go out and you get blind wasted 5 days earlier and you lose, or you haven't really trained that hard and you lose, or you weren't quite as prepared and you lose, this is all subconscious, but somewhere in there, you can say to yourself, you know what, next time I'll give it my all and I'll win. You're hedging your bets a little bit. You're saying the real me, the me who did everything I could do, would have beat him. But since I partied 5 days earlier, I couldn't. If you need that, that will become freeing. You know, I'm not sure what's going on with my thing here. Live video ended. Maybe there's a certain length of time you can do it. It'll become freeing that you don't have to deal with. That's my phone. Maybe you don't have to deal with the fact that that's going to happen. That you gave everything and you failed. That means you're not the best in the world today. But if you didn't give everything, you gave yourself these little outs, partying, not training hard enough, well, then you've always saved that little bit there that later on you could go. Maybe that allows him to perform freely, you know? He didn't mention it to Rogan for no reason. He mentioned it because he's probably been talking to a therapist or to a sports psychology guy, or reading or researching himself. He mentioned that because he knows it's something. And maybe he mentioned that because by putting it out there, he won't hide behind it anymore. But these things matter. It all matters, man. It all matters. Every fiber of who you are, when you're going out to put yourself into a cage in front of 500,000 people to fight one of the greatest athletes that's ever walked the earth, it all matters. What you ate for breakfast matters. It all matters. So is it possible that John Jones is that good because of his extracurricular activities, not despite them? I would say it's not possible that he's that good, but it's possible that he fights freely or he performs in the way he does. It's connected. It really is. And when he accepts that, and he probably has, it'll allow him to move on from it if he does. So he's a great, great athlete and great fighter. I asked him if we could interview him in one of the Hangouts, and he mentioned to ask Malky. And we were so busy I didn't. I think he might have done it. Next time we'll do it. Malky is a good manager for him. He's in charge of him. He's got it organized. And I think he would have done it, but we had so many, and Malky's brother handles Jorge, and so we had such a great day with Jorge. So, but next time. Okay, couple more. Would there be different champs if the time of the fight is altered? 10-minute round one, or 15 or 25 minutes straight, no break? At RPM. Great question. Absolutely. I mean, would there be different champs? There'd be different everything. Could one of these brilliant humans, would Demetrius Johnson still be champ? I tend to think there's a pretty good chance he would. Actually, George used to talk about that, and Firas, and most of the top people realize and absolutely positively train for all of the guidelines and the structures. So time, of course, is one of them. Rounds, length of break, size of the cage, shape of the cage, what the mat's made out of, what the cage is made out of, the amount of flex, and all of it. Every one of those variables becomes a part of the DNA of how fighting is done. And it becomes very ingrained in the training. How you train against the fence, for example, is different than how you would train against a ring or against a wall or against a corner. Very different. And how you train to, perform in the times that you perform, at the speed and at the intensity, with the recovery, all of it would change. And in some cases, in most cases, the top people understand that, so they would change their training and their preparation and their strategy, etc., around all of these things. But then there are some that just have certain attributes and skills that would give them even bigger advantages. Like Michael Bisping, with longer rounds, would be even more likely to be the champ. Because there's something in, whether that is, his ability, his red blood cells' ability to oxygenate hemoglobin, or it's in his lungs' ability to draw oxygen the way, whatever it is, or the muscles, the middle distance type muscle fiber that he has, whatever it is, he is the type of athlete that would do incredibly well with a 10-minute round. Nate Diaz could be the champion of the universe if it was a 40-minute round, They would know exactly, or an hour round, or 2 hours, or no time limit. They would know exactly how to manage as a distance runner. And they would know exactly how to not engage until they wanted to, and exactly how to slap you and irritate you and wind your heart rate up so that you start to fade. And then they come on at minute 7 or 11 or 21. Because they've lived a lifetime of being that type of athlete. So every single variable would change it. This is the type of thing that, when you sit around with your nerdy, fight-obsessed or fight-educated or coach athlete friends that I watch fights with often, you talk about it. What if the cage wall was 20 feet high? What if it was 4 feet high? What if the mat was made out of something else? Every part of it changes everything. It really does. Really does. And it's cool. And there's some really, really interesting things. Christine wants, here's a question. What was the most boring fight in the UFC in the last 5 years? Hashtag UFC 211. Christine, I guess you haven't watched me talk about fighting a lot. Because I don't think fights of any kind are boring. I think there's always a fascinating dynamic between everything. That when you talk to, I talked to a lot of people when we were down at UFC. Wait, 211, hashtag 211. What was boring there? What would people say is boring there?
Maybe the David Branch fights.
Maybe the David Branch. At 210, was that Woodley and Wonderboy? What was that, 209? Woodley, Wonderboy, 210. So people think that was boring. That, you talk to the coaches and the fighters that I talk to, they will just right into that fight. Right into that fight. Because they know what's going on. They see it. I mean, what's more boring? What's less exciting? Chess or soccer? Or football, as the rest of the world calls it. The option of the two that's less exciting is the one you know less about. Because I'll tell you, man, there's nobody crazier than football fans. And they know what they're watching. They're going crazy because they know what they're watching. To somebody who just surface compares Dan Henderson dropping Michael Bisping or a soccer game, football game, that person who on the surface compares it would be like, well, this is more exciting. But not if you talk to the tens of, hundreds of millions or low billions, I don't know what the number is, who love football. They'll tell you that it's the most exciting sport in the world. How can that be if you look at it and you don't see it's exciting? Because they understand what's happening. And when they see it, it's beautiful and it's fascinating and it's nerve-wracking and it's like it makes you sick to your stomach because it's so on edge and it's your team. That's what Woodley Wonderboy really was. It really was. You don't have to see it and you don't have to agree and you don't have to go out. And if you say, if that's what that was, I'm never going to spend any effort to see that because I don't like that, please don't. I'm not going to judge you. But just understand that when there are people who study things on a deeper level, to them, that they'll see a chess move and we'll all be sitting around and they'll be like some old guy sitting there in a park like this against some 14-year-old kid, and they'll be like, and people will gasp. They'll gasp. They can't fucking believe it. He moved that fucking horsey like that. That horsey is like up 1 and over 3. You know, we're looking at it going, yeah, he moved the fucking horsey it was on a square and he moved it to another square. But to the chess master, they've never seen anything like that. That's real. They're not the crazy one. They're not the idiot. We're not the idiot either. We just don't watch chess like that. So that is at play in every single fight. I swear to you it is. I swear to you. When I was on Joe's, we mentioned Joe, who I love dearly. And I did Brendan's podcast when I was in LA. And a day or two later, we went on Joe's, and Brendan was like, Robin doesn't think any fight sucks. And Joe was like, what about Kimbo versus Dada 3000? I was like, fuck, he might have me there. But if you really look at it, fucking fascinating, right? These two people, where do you want to find the curiosity? Where do you want to find the interest? What's happening in their circulatory systems? What's happening with that fucking heart? That thing trying to beat its way out of that guy's chest as poison is going through his muscles. He's almost unable to move. He doesn't even know how to fight, and yet he's in there with this guy. Like, trust me, I didn't like that fight. I didn't like anything about that fight. But that fight was fascinating. And it was fascinating on millions of levels. It's disgusting on a lot of levels. It shouldn't have happened, and I wish it didn't. But once we're in there and we're watching it, there's a lot of really, really crazy dynamics going on in there. When somebody can't hold their arms up and they're still trying to will themselves to compete, and the other guy can't even stand, that's kind of gross, but don't tell me it's not interesting. The question was boring, however. Well, boring's in the eye of the beholder. My parents used to have a saying when I said, I'm bored. They said, only boring people get bored. And I was like, damn. But I get it. I mean, we live in the never in the history of humankind has there been more to do. Just this thing right here. There's more to do in that than you could do in a year 30 years ago. There's more access to information there than any human had ever accessed. There's every single song that's ever been written is available right here. Every music video that's ever been made, every television show that's ever been done, almost everything that's ever been written, everything. It's all there. If I'm bored, that's on me. And on some level, I think those are the fights too. However, you are in no way obligated to go and study something that you watch occasionally. And if you don't like it, I'm in no position to tell you that you are a bad person or that's on you or to judge you for it. But don't judge me for saying that and truly believing that Woodley versus Wonderboy was an incredibly exciting and fascinating fight. I promise I won't judge you if you don't agree. I promise. And I'm going to continue to work on that because why the fuck do you don't have to go and study all that shit. That's what you have me for. And if I do it, you don't have to agree. You can be like, oh, God, only a weirdo like that would spend that much time trying to figure out what was happening with these feints between these guys. So I get it. Let's do a couple more. And so there's actually a couple of good ones here. I'm going to come back to them. I just want to throw them out so that people maybe can send me some thoughts of theirs on it on Twitter. One here, we're definitely going to answer this in the coming weeks, is how bad is depression for fighters due to head trauma? And we included at Hey Landsberg, Landsberg. That's Michael Landsberg, sorry. And I did a Artists of Life, which is just sort of a sit-down hour with Michael Landsberg, and he studies and helps bring attention to the study of depression. So, and that's a real thing. Head trauma and depression are very linked. We're going to do some prep work and come back with that. Are titles losing their meaning with all these interim super fights? I want to talk about that too. My take will probably be different than a lot of people's, and I hope that's all right. What I'm going to talk about is commodification, or commoditization is how they put it today. The idea that if you can get McDonald's everywhere, it's probably not worth as much as it used to be. That aspect happens in almost everything. It's a fundamental aspect of the world that we're living in right now, and this plays a part into it. So I'm definitely going to come back to that, and we're going to come back and talk about UFC 216 in Edmonton, which me and Mark are just hell bent on going to no matter what. So thank you guys so much for hanging with us. I've got a trip to New York and a trip to LA and a trip to Montreal coming up. I don't know how much we're going to get to shoot, but we're going to have a ton of fight previews with Ramdeen coming out. And yeah, please follow on Twitter, Robin Black MMA, and Instagram the same. And check out our Patreon page. We really appreciate you guys helping out. It's patreon.com/RobinBlack. And thanks so much. We'll catch up with you soon. Hopefully next time I see you, I will be the color commentator for Dana White's Contender Series. And if I'm not, I will have learned so much that I'll be that much closer. Black out.